Hello, Leonhard. You are a nomadic possibility manager and coach. You are also a Rage Club space holder and a researcher of the invisible human potential. And today I'm interviewing you because you have seemingly successfully escaped the prison of your parents' bubble or your parents' household, which is in possibility management context, the third prison of 8 prisons to escape before you're fully free. And so this is an interview about that.
Yeah, hello, Wout. I would not say that I have completely escaped the parents' prison yet, but I did some of the experiments of the website, especially the getting rid of all items and things, material things that I still stored in my parents'
Mm,
house in case that when I'm traveling, I've traveled since 2021, that if something fails, I have like a backdoor, a safety backdoor. And I also received some financial support and I also cut that. And I'm not registered anymore at my parents' house. So all the letters that I receive from contracts or whatever go somewhere else. Even that I don't have a a fixed place where I live currently.
mhm,
I'm a nomad, as you said. I made sure that the letters and stuff go to some place, but not to my
mm.
parents anymore.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that integrity and clarity. And mm, so you say you're not fully there yet. Will you share more what that would look like to be fully out of the parents' bubble in your case and maybe in general?
Hmm. I read on the Eight Prisons website that what it all is when you are in your parents' prison or in parents' bubble.
Hmm.
And one thing, one test is that you go to your parents and you go there and you are not hookable. And
Mm.
this is not applying for me yet. I still get hooked sometimes. And
I
also today, for example, I was rescuing my mother. She shared
mm,
something about in Telegram chat. She wrote to me something about doubts, and I rescued her. I wanted to help her in that without she was asking me for that. So
mm.
I'm in this way, I'm still in my parents' bubble or in the parents' prison.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you for that clarity. For the people watching, there's a few questions on the website that you can go through to see how far you are actually out of the parents' bubble. And the one you mentioned here, I find extremely challenging myself, as I'm currently mm, also living with my parents and just noticing regularly how hooked I am, just constantly in a sort of war zone to trying not to get hooked whenever I leave the space I'm currently in and I enter kind of the more general house. Um, so yeah, that is definitely a challenging thing. Hmm. You proposed to do this interview, and I immediately felt this pull like, oh yeah, there's something in there for me. There's something in there maybe for you, but maybe also just for the whole PM world. And will you share more about what this impulse, yeah, what you felt might be valuable to share with the world that you have discovered that you did not share yet?
Hmm. Yeah, you asked me some questions, and then I noticed I was not so clear actually what this experiment did with me. So to 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 go there, I want to mm, give a little bit context of why I did this experiment. So I when I read the Eight Prisons website, this was a challenging idea for me to really go out there. And at the same time, I was like, really? Is it really that it will help me or support me so much to it's just a few things, you know. Does that help if I do that? It's like
Mm,
it's so God, you have your parents' bubble, and I was always like that. No, I would like force me through that. I don't have this internal motivation to do that.
yeah.
And
Well,
last year, I was joining the White Widow research group that Michael Pertner initiated. And in this context, I read about the book, um, the how was it called? Seductive Parent, something like that. I'm trying to remember right now the book. It's a book where you can,
silently seduced,
yeah, silently seduced. Thank you.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's to get more like find more what is it really that how do I use my sexual energy? What are the ways? How do I do that with my mother? And I was researching in that book, and while I was in this experiment group, I was also doing the experiment to live for 1 month at my parents' place and to figure out what happens when I'm there. And the main motivation, I did not do the 1 year White Widow experiment yet. That is about going cold turkey in intimacy with other women. And I was we were researching in the group what is actually necessary to do that experiment. And when we had one space where we like went into the pain our white widow of our white widow strategy, and I hit this pain of not being fully holding space for myself, not being sourcing my my real dreams and living my dreams. There was always like something that I tried to be in a safety place and numb all this pain through comfort and this thing and at
The
some
pain of not
point,
living your dreams.
yeah, and I got feedback from Michael Pertner about that, and we were talking about this, and I decided to do that experiment to get rid of the things that I still stored in my parents' place, and also changing the address, cutting this umbilical cord with my mother in that way. And yeah, while doing it, I in the last weeks, I was like really in a doer mode. I numbed a little bit my feelings of doing all that. It was more work that I was expecting because I organized all these mini things. Like, you know, I also signed off from Germany, did this in parallel, and then there are all these things like you have
You
to have
signed off from Germany,
yeah, I signed also off from Germany. And
so you're
I
officially no citizen in no country right now. Or
Yeah, this is not the same. I'm still counting as a German citizen, but I don't have an address, a physical address in Germany anymore
Okay.
or in
A
any other
domiciliation.
country. Yeah. Um, you could call me like a homeless person as well.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, and and was a lot of organizational stuff to it, to legal stuff that you make sure like you have to, for some bank, for my bank account, you have to have an address, you have to make sure certain things. And yeah, I worked all this out and planned all this stuff. And I also, you know, make sure that I type some of my beat books in my computer and start in some way. All these little things added up, and then when I when I landed here in Brazil as my first step of fully going out of my parents' home, after some time when I get some space to arrive here, there was unexpected a lot of in quite intense grief happening that that like exploded out of myself, and I was wondering like that it was so intense, and something shifted in me even that I did not understand. And I got feedback from other people that I am somehow more light with less baggage, and that I have much more capacity to focus my attention. That somehow there was energy stored with all the things that I let go of, and I can now use this energy for myself. And this is something that I noticed. It was like even that, I trained to own my attention, but there was like a sudden boost of that I could not explain. It was like boom, and and suddenly like being really full there, and could like I notice when I put my attention on a person that I can burn things through like a laser, like pulling stuff out of another person when I hold space. And then I experienced that I have more capacity to do that now as before. And it's like a jump happening, not like a continuous shift, but it was like a quite noticeable add-on.
Hmm. And you said there was a lot of grief that came up when you landed. Will you share a few words about that? Was it related to the unlived dreams, or what was it about?
Yeah, it was a grief of me growing up to fully taking responsibility, that I have to take care now of myself, that I am in the unknown, not knowing what will happen next, to 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 have to have a roof over my head, to have something to eat and to sleep. It's not so secure anymore than before. I was grieving about this kind of,
Mm, mm,
and also that I let go of something. There was a part I did not even have a name for it, or did not even have words. It was like an old identity of myself died. And the funny thing is that I'm getting quite confronted with me holding space for myself at the moment. That's really funny because it's not the first time I'm visiting communities or live in Bridge House or something like that. And here at this place where I am, I'm getting quite challenged to step up and take a stand for my needs. And it's really cool. I can practice at the moment to really be persistent of and being a conscious asshole for what I want to create here. I was never challenged like that before. And I noticed these patterns inside of me of, okay, but it's like uncomfortable to to ask for that, or what will they think? It's too much of a burden. I cannot cannot ask something like that. And that it was really big topic in my for my whole family. They were like never they were never like asking stuff what they need because they were afraid that a person could not negotiate with them or say no, and were scared that they will resent the other person will resent them. This is a quite big topic in my family, and I noticed I could let go of this. I could like really do something else. And I'm doing that currently in this community, and I'm glad. It feels like so growing up to what happened before. It does not seem this kind of difficult anymore to step up and say something that yes, this matters for me. I even was unconscious about my own needs because it was too dangerous to speak them out and share them. And so I put them like under the rug. And now I'm very clear about, okay, this is important for me. This is important for me. I share them, my needs, and in the next step, I even ask boldly for them. Like, even if I
Yeah,
have the
I'd like
story that people would like say, this is insane what you're asking for.
yeah, thank you. I'd like to reflect on that, bringing in my current process about this. And it sounds like how I see it now is that I was researching like why is it so important, and I was talking to AI about like why is it so important that, you know, like you said, just some items in somebody's house, my parents' house, have such an impact on my whole being, my whole energy bodies or whatever. But it has apparently a big impact. And then AI was giving me some reasons, and the one that stood out the most for me was dependency. And what I hear from you now is that not being dependent anymore on your parents for yeah, or in any case, it seems like the ties have somehow loosened. Like there was a lot of ties that kept you there and kept you related to familial patterns. And it seems once you stepped off the plane and you arrived, that in that whole process there was a lot more like breaking of the ties. So you have a lot more freedom to really be your own true self now. That's kind of my interpretation that I'm picking up for you. And it seems like with breaking this dependency comes a whole lot other benefits like these that we just spoke about. It's just more space to be your true self because you're less dependent and there's less kind of ties keeping you to yeah, family rules or family um patterns.
Yes, yeah. I thank you for naming that. That's really an important aspect, if not one of the most important aspects to become independent. Um, it it is to yeah, staying in this comfortable bubble is not you don't feel this pain to or this strong necessity to do something about it. I mean,
Exactly. I'm
I
right. I'm sort of there now. I'm trying to figure out like why should I? And it seems you had similar questions until you did it, and now you're like, oh, I feel more empowered to take a stand for myself.
yes, and I want to add that like I moved out physically from my parents' place when like was 18 years ago. When I was 18, I was going to study and then I was working. I owned my own money. I I was not needing the money or the material stuff of my parents, but in some way I still was inside of like without my parents, I'm lost. I like I cannot do my own shit. I need like the approval of my parents. I need like they need to help me out with when I'm lost and I cannot solve it on my own. And I noticed that this kind of behavior I project on also on my partner, like it's becoming a even a problem for the intimacy with my partner when I'm like that, because I orientate myself when I'm together with my partner. I orientate myself on her and checking what is she doing and trying to be in this safety, comfortable thing. Can be really trivial things of being in another country where that is very different from my birth culture, and I'm scared of going shopping there, and 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 it's about, okay, I need my partner to shop there. Something could be some trivial things like that, very subtle little things. And stepping out of this parents prison makes me like, okay, I handle this shit alone. I'm growing up. I'm taking care of what's needs for my own. This is a big
Mm.
shift. And this is why I'm willing to talk with you about it and have this interview, because for me it was like, okay, I earn my own money, I make all these things, I moved physically out of my parents' place. I don't need to
Mhm.
do anything else anymore. This is like over exaggerated bullshit. Like, what does that matter? And maybe it does something, but when I don't sense that so much, when I'm not so much in this world of this subtle, when I don't have the metrics to be so into this energetical realm and sense all the things, what it does with me, why should I even consider doing it? And leaving your parents' place energetically yields especially energetical results. And even if you're not aware that your mental body is, your energetical body is blocked with some stuff, because parts of your energy are still with certain things, material stuff, then it takes away energy. It's like, when you're not fully centered, when there are parts of your center distributed somewhere else, and then you take back your center, you have more your power. And it's like that. If you if you cut the energetical umbilical cord with your mother, you have more energy. If you,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it means like growing my being, like that my being gets bigger and bigger, getting all these energies back that I can then use for something else.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I think at some point you need to risk it and try it out. And I did that. I was relying on the web page at prisons. I was relying on Michael Pertner. And it was like I could risk and do a lot of effort for nothing. And I did it anyway, and I'm glad I did it. I feel I feel bigger. I'm not making myself so small anymore than before.
And so, yeah, how, what's the kind of, so your stuff is out of your parents' house now. You put it with a friend, you said, and what's the kind of deal you made with them? Like, how long do you imagine your stuff will be there? Like, yeah, can you share something about that? I'm
So
right now at this point, like, okay, where does the stuff go? Do I rent a box? Do I get a friend? Do I ask a family vacation house? Like, yeah, there's some options.
yeah, first of all, I want to say that I already um get rid of the most stuff when I left my when I was starting to be a nomad in 2021. I got rid of the most things already. And now was the part of getting rid. how I did it, I got rid of the remaining stuff mostly. And it was this kind of things that was really challenging for me, or was more challenging to get rid of than the other things to get rid of. And at the same time, I
Will
noticed,
you share a bit what kind of stuff you're talking about then?
yeah, it was clothes, it was also things of financial value, like a 600 euros blender or 600 euros projector for movies that I did not carry with me, but still had some value for me that I did not want to get
Yeah.
rid of it. And you know, there were certain clothes that I had like energetical connection to it. There was something happening, and I did not carry with me, but I was like, I love this kind of clothes, and
Mm.
and then
I
I
remember
decided,
Clinton. I remember Clinton also saying you should remove all the clothes that your mother gave you
yeah,
in the process. Yeah. Sorry, please continue.
yeah, that's also valuable to do that. But this I did already a long time ago, so this was not the task of this time. So yeah, it from this experience of 2 years traveling, I noticed like how fast, even if the decision seems to be like challenging to get rid of certain things, I noticed like after a couple of hours, it's like gone. It's like erased from your mind and you will never miss it. I never missed any of the things I got rid of. And also the things I got rid of 2.5 weeks ago, I don't miss a thing. I have the things that I really need with me, and the rest is gone. The only thing that I brought to my friend were like some certain documents and beep books. It's a this kind of a box that I brought to him, and I agreed with him that I he will let me know if he will move out of this place, and then as long as that I can keep it there. And there is no plan how long I keep it there. We will figure out something in the here and now when it's necessary. And also my letters go to this place. So I managed to have like everything, like use online portals and emails to receive all the things that I really need to receive. But there are some legal things where like um yeah bank institutes or something like that, they need to they need your address for legal reasons. To have still a contract, you need to have that. And for example, if your bank card is not valid anymore, they only can send it to a physical address. So for these kind of reasons, you need to organize something like that. But usually I made sure with all these institutions that they not send any kind of uh, letters or this kind of things anymore, especially not to my parents' place.
Hmm. Hey. Yeah, I notice a desire in me right now to have like 5 or 10 minutes of coaching around this topic specifically. And I think perhaps we could first wrap up the interview before we do that, if you're open for that. And in any case, I propose that we wrap up the interview here. And I was wondering if you have anything that you feel might still be valuable to bring in that was not spoken about yet.
Thank you. I'm feeling complete. I have this sensation I said everything that is alive in me connected to the topic, and I feel glad about this possibility make an interview. I also suggested it because I have not given so many interviews. It's also a step for me to become more visible. So thank you for being open to that.
Thank you for taking the step, making the proposal, yeah, and jumping. Okay, thank you, Leonhard, and we'll wrap it up here. Bye for now. Okay, so I stop my recording.